Hi guys, I think the Tory plan to get back into power involves encouraging voters to forget the last few years. They sure would love to have that memory-wiping device from the movie Men in Black. Forget about what they did to the NHS, what they did to the justice system, what they didn't do during the housing crisis, their lack of support during the cost of living crisis, the decline in investment, and how could we forget austerity, which is estimated to have killed about 300,000 people. Forget all that and vote them back into power. Here quasi-Reform UK Tory MP Danny Kruger wants you to be angry with Labour because they haven't fixed 14 years of literal rot.
I'm here in Swindon, and as you can see...
Okay, before we continue, the audio here is absolutely terrible. Apologies. This is from the original video. I think he probably recorded it within a Portaloo or a tin can, but apologies for the audio.
I'm here in Swindon, and as you can see, towns like this really need renewal. They need growth. They need jobs. But what you've got from Labour, I've just been talking to the job centre, talking to employers this morning. National insurance rises. Labour promised not to put taxes on employers. They've done exactly that. The result is there aren't jobs for people to go into. At the same time, Labour introduced crude, cruel benefit cuts for people with disabilities. So it's very wrong what they're doing, taxing employment, cutting benefits. My party is taking a different approach. We're starting a new programme of policy renewal, and we want your input. How can the benefit system support people into work who want to work, but also provide the right level of support for people who can't? We would welcome your input and advice and experience of the benefit system and how we can help build a benefit system that will support people in whatever way they need to get into work, but also those with long-term disabilities and illness.
Okay, once again, apologies for the audio. So he's talking about renewal while standing in front of a building that's rotting away. Now, I don't believe for a second that this building got into this state in the last, 8, 9, 10, 12 months. No, it's probably been in that state for a long time, when the Conservatives were still in power. And he's talking about renewal. Look, I think the Tory policy here is, let's hope people forget. It's literally that. Let's hope people forget about austerity, which killed thousands of people. Let's hope people forget about us running the public services into the ground. Let's hope they forget about the NHS waiting list at record levels when we were in charge. Let's hope they forget about a lack of investment, dragging our feet on housing. Let's hope they forget about all of those things. It's still a bit early, but hopefully by 2028 or 2029, the public will have forgotten. And what they're going to do is they're going to vote us back into power, so we'll do exactly the same thing again. He's talking here about renewal. Well, your party decided against building enough houses for people. Investment dropped when the Conservatives were in charge. So I don't know how you're going to convince the public that you're the party of renewal when you ran things into the ground. It's like an arsonist coming up and saying, hey, you should put me in charge of fire safety. And then he talks about benefits. There's no difference between the rhetoric here and what Labour is doing at the moment. He's saying, well, we should be supporting the most vulnerable and we should be getting people into work. Well, that was the policy in the past. That's the current policy under the new government. And that seems to be part of your policy going forward. But what's the difference here? You criticise the current government for cutting support for people, but your party was in charge of the DWP when you were throwing people under a bus, when you were cutting support for people. Your party, every MP in your party voted against more support for the most vulnerable in society. Look, we're not talking about what Labour is doing at the moment. When the Conservatives were in charge, apart from austerity, they were supporting cuts for the most vulnerable. They were making it more difficult for councils to raise money. They cut funding for councils. They cut powers to councils. They don't care about ordinary people. Now they're trying to sell this idea that, yes, we care about the most vulnerable and we want to make sure people get into jobs and we care about renewal. The party of austerity, the original party of austerity and lack of investment is now saying you need to vote for us. They have nothing. That's it. I think this is their policy going forward. Let's hope people forget. But I don't think people will forget, or not enough people will forget to vote them back in.